I was texting this girl and she was just ignoring me. This text changed everything and had her wanting to meet up within 15 minutes. Watch until the end of the video and I'm gonna show you everything. In this video, we're gonna reveal the 3 specific messages that get girls to start thinking about having sex with you. But they don't even mention sex at all. So you can send them to any girl you want, and they look pretty innocent, which is why they work so well, because they bypass a girl's logical mind and plant little seeds in her mind so she starts thinking about having sex with you without even really knowing why. And in this video, I'm gonna simplify it for you massively and give you the exact text to send, whether you've been talking to a girl for a while or just met her last night. But first off, I wanna prove to you that this works. So take a look at this comment. By the end of the video, you'll know exactly what text this was and why it worked. Let's start by going over the 2 phases of texting, and this is very important because it's going to affect what kind of message you should send in that situation. So the first phase is going to be when the girl is compliant. This means simply that if you're messaging her, she's responding with some level of enthusiasm. When you're asking her questions, she's answering those questions. When you're trying to make plans, she's being receptive, right? That's kind of what we all want. The second phase, though, is non-compliance, the exact opposite. So this means that when you're messaging the girl, she's either full-on ghosting on you or she's only selectively responding. An example of this might be like you say, hey, how's it going? What are you up to this weekend, right? Trying to make plans, and she says, hi, or something like that. She's responding to you, right? But she's not really, being receptive to what you're trying to do. So that also counts as non-compliance. Next, let's really quickly talk about the 5 common texting mistakes that the majority of guys are making. So mistake number 1 is gonna be trying to escalate on non-compliance. So the girl is ghosting on you and you're like, hey, so are you free this Saturday, right? You never escalate on non-compliance. You're gonna wanna use a takeaway, which we will cover later. Mistake number 2 is gonna be becoming her texting buddy. I see this a lot. Guys just kind of text forever. They don't try to escalate. They don't try to move things forward to the date. And eventually the girl just basically puts you in the gay best friend texting buddy zone, right? And you don't want that. Mistake number 3 is going to be texting in a very feminine manner. This usually involves using too many emojis and kind of just doing like LOL, OMG, right? Texting in a very feminine way is not good. You can occasionally use emojis, but don't overdo this. Mistake number 4 is going to be over-validating her beauty. You might be talking to a very gorgeous girl, but you don't need to remind her of that every 30 seconds. And guys tend to do this a lot because they don't know what to say. Now look, it's okay to give some compliments. I think it's better to give compliments on things that she wasn't born with. So for example, if she has nice tattoos, you can say that. If she has good style, you can say that as well, right? But if you do like generic, like, hey, you're so beautiful, that's fine, maybe very, very sporadically, but overdoing that just kind of puts you in the, oh my God, this guy's a fucking simp zone. And common mistake number 5, this is by far the most common, is becoming needy. I see this happen all the time. The girl might not respond for 4, 6, even 12 hours, and the guy starts blowing up her phone, right? Or for example, she's sending him, 1-sentence answers, and he's writing her paragraphs. Do not be needy. It is the biggest turn off that you could possibly ever imagine. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the specific text. So text number 1 is gonna be an opener you could use or something very early on in the conversation. So take a look at this example. I open the girl with, hey, I'm curious about something. First, right off the bat, this is a very, very high response opener, right? A lot of girls are like, what is he curious about, right? It builds intrigue, and so she's gonna be much more likely to respond. As you can see here, she's like, good morning, about what? And then here is the follow-up. How can you look so innocent and like such trouble at the same time? And again, this is kind of planting the idea in her head that she's trouble, right? You're kind of planting the seed, for something a little bit more flirtatious and sexual, but you're not doing it outright in a way the girl's like, whoa, what the fuck is up with this guy? And so she responds, well, that's a good one. No one has ever told me that. And later on, I wound up setting up a date with this girl, but it all started with this. Now, text number 2 is gonna be very simple. So this is when a girl asks you how you're doing, how are you, what's up? And so you say, good, just finished a big workout, looking nice and fit for our date. So you're kind of planting an image in her head that like, ooh, look at me, glistening muscles, looking good for our date, right? It's kind of planting a flirty image, even potentially a sexual one, but again, it's not going over the top. Now you might be thinking, well, what do I do if the girl hasn't asked me, how my day is going? It's very simple. You ask her about her day. You say, hey, how's your day going? And she's almost always gonna respond, blah, 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 blah. How about you? And then you have your chance to bust this text out. And it works really well. So we can see this one example. The girl says, wow, we love to see it. So her English isn't the best. She means I love to see it. And so you can see here, I just say, I'd be happy to show you over a nice bottle of wine. I love wine, so I love that, right? We're off to a really good start. Here's another one. So I say, I'm good, just finished a big workout, looking nice and fit for our date. She's like, oh, so we have a date tonight. Ready to wash that workout down with tequila? I say, haha, I can't tonight, but definitely soon. What's your schedule like? She's like, I'm free. And this is another girl that I wound up setting up a date with, right? But it started with this. So this is not the very beginning of the combo. It's not the opener, but it happens in the early stage of the combo when the girl is compliant. So for example, if the girl doesn't respond to your opener, she's being non-compliant, you're not gonna send this text, right? It needs to be the girl asking you about how you're doing. All right, let's move on to text number 3. So this is kind of the close. This is also only used in situations where the girl is compliant. So it's a 2-part text. You start off by saying, do you like wine? Right, just a very simple, and pretty much every chick loves wine. So here's an example. She says, who doesn't like wine? And sorry, I passed out early since I work this morning. I say, good, we should split a bottle sometime soon. That's the second part, right? And basically, you know, you're saying we should split a bottle sometime soon. Well, you can't really be drinking on the street in pretty much every city. So where's that bottle gonna be split? It's gonna be split at your place. But it's a lot better than just saying, hey, you wanna come over my place? A little too explicit, right? But when you're kind of putting in a lot more, you know, just kind of implicitly in there, it's a little bit more kind of smooth and sneaky, right? That's gonna work a lot better. And so you can see the girl responds with, sounds fun, where do you stay? Blah, blah, blah. We're looking good. All right, here's another example. So I say, do you like wine? She's like, I do. What's your wine of choice? And so I give her, you know, what my wine of choice is. It's Riesling. So I say, probably Riesling. How about you? So she gives me her choices. I say, cool, we should split a bottle on my romantic balcony. So this is just kind of a variation of this. She says, I love that. I have to meet you out first, but I love to go back after with a bottle. This is a very good sign. Some girls won't want to come straight over, but because you're saying that, you know, we should split a bottle on my place or my romantic balcony, you're kind of planting the image that assuming the date goes well, she's going to be going back to your place. And this is very important. It makes pulling later on a lot easier. And so now we covered the 3 texts, but I want to give you a bonus one. This is kind of leading to the example I started off initially. So basically, you know, what do you do if the girl's being non-compliant? Because that is going to happen. One of the best texts I found is this one. If you're too nervous, I don't understand. So you can see the example here. I say, hey, still good for tonight? She doesn't respond. I send the text and she says, I'm not nervous. I just finished working. I was tired. We can definitely do something this week if you want. Or let's go to the actual example from the beginning of the video. So look at this, right? So the girl is just being non-compliant. I say, let's do Saturday night, Ben. She doesn't respond. I wait a few days. I say, see, she doesn't respond. Wait another few days and I send her this takeaway. If you're too nervous, I don't understand, because she's in a non-compliant stage. And then she says, hi, sorry, Happy New Year. So then I follow it up with, likewise, my biggest New Year's resolution is to finally see that pretty half Jewish face of yours, because earlier she told me she was half Jewish. She says, haha, oh, so ambitious. Want to meet us at Fredo for gelato in 15? I'm with my sister-in-law, kind of exhausted, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, I teach yoga till noon tomorrow and I could meet up after. And obviously you never want to agree to a group date because those are a waste of time. So I'm going to meet her out after she's done teaching yoga. All right, hope you guys found this video valuable. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit the bell for notifications, because otherwise my videos will just not show up, as a lot of people tell me. Also, make sure you check out our free Tinder guide. Link is going to be in the description. It shows you how to get really good photos so you start getting more matches, how to write the kind of bio that makes you stand out from the sea of other guys she's matching with, and good text game. This and much more, so you know exactly how to turn all those leads you're going to get into dates. Check it out. It's free. Link in the description. Thank you guys, and until next time.